So this is NFC1, NFC2 and NFC3. I just wanted to get some feedback from Chris about making sure that I'm putting this in the right categories and stuff. The motivation was when I was doing NFC1, I typically, I was putting stuff into Google Docs. That's kind of normally where I dump things. In fact, if you look at my Google Drive, I have a lot of stuff on even AFS. So let's see where it was. Which I think it was, there's my documentation to create the AFS virtual machine. And there's one on conductive printing. And when I did NFC1, I created the Confluence doc within that, which is links are in NFC1. But I was saying, well, heck, it's my method kind of uses this method pulled from the Kubernetes and Docker community using Read the Docs. The Pixie Boot guys that I've been working with also use this. And what I was doing was I kind of created a format that I like about, the documentation format, which if you look, this is what I'm, currently working on. And the MS Confluence was the MS Ansible is the this up here that is primarily it's the pattern for creating a vagrant box that has that can configure an array of servers within a network for using Ansible. So you should be able to vagrant up, and it brings up a whole stack in the configuration you want. What I was doing with NFC2 was I pulled this MS Ansible, and I was actually creating the connector for the documentation to to push it to the Confluence server. Okay, so that's NFC, 2. I just wanted to automated my document push because truthfully I have to. There's a whole bunch of documentations out here that I already have that we have to decide whether we want to push internally or not. And my pattern is I have a GitHub repo, and this is for anything that's not sensitive. That's basically I'm pulling from the community, and I can create a GitHub repo that has. In fact, for this one is. The GitHub repo. It has docs, and the docs is linked to that automatically builds the read my doc site. So I have a ctrees, which is hooked to the mail services account for GitHub and for read the docs. So the things that we're interesting publicly. In fact, if we go out to the GitHub, go to the ctrees, and you can look at the repos. They're pretty much stuff that this goes way back too, I think, but it's stuff that we we are using or looking at from the public, and I'm just sorting out information that is from the public sector. MS Ansible is come from primarily three things, which is Bert V, which is he created the vagrant box setup that allows you to create a network of tests, and he created it because he was creating Ansible playbooks for Galaxy, and then he's got a skeleton for doing that too. And I'm using that to create MS Ansible was originally created to create a network stack for testing the AFS stuff, and how we want to bring that in, or if we want to bring that in, or do we want to keep it publicly clean, so that we are basically tracking external community projects, and then we can fork from that and bring it in internally for when we need to use or modify it. And then if we need to push something back out to the community, we can do the same thing. And that's primarily what it's not NFC really, and I'm just kind of curious if you want to continue putting it in on this branch or not. But anyway, the main thing here is I think I can get it working definitely this week as far as just the document thing. I've got a few different Ansible stacks, working that you can just do a vagrant up and, the whole stack comes up. But I'm, fine tuning it. I've never got a full stack with AFC working with primarily because there's a lot of LDAP, and there's just a lot of stuff that ends up being involved with doing that stack. But that was my ultimate goal was to vagrant up, and I don't actually think some of the stuff we can't vagrant up because it's so VirtualBox's networking sometimes gets in the way, but that's another point. Anyway, for both NFC 2 and 3, I was just wanting to make sure that I'm putting this in the right place and it's something to do. After I get done with this screencast thing, I'm going to put the information into NFC 1 and 2 and kind of dump it over to Chris and let him review this. And I'll continue on probably trying to make the Confluence Ansible module work with Docker, and I'll go look into that. 'Cause doing the Docker stuff I think is a good idea anyway. And I think that's it.